Hello, everyone. My guest today is Drew D'Agostino. He is the founder of Crystal for the past 3.5 years. He started multiple businesses before then, including an event software company, Attend.com, a pizza box advertising agency, and a bed bug extermination company. He's also a private pilot, songwriter, runner, and local diner regular. Drew, are you ready to take us to the top?
I am.
All right. So the website is crystalknows.com. Tell us what the company does and how you make money.
Sure. Crystal is a personality platform, and we can tell you the best way to communicate with pretty much anyone. So we offer access to a large set of personality data for a few 100 million people. And if you're in sales, management, recruiting, or really any other kind of position where you have to communicate regularly with people you don't know, Crystal can help give you lots of information of the best way to communicate to have stronger relationships. Mostly
so,
for
so is this,
people.
Jeremy, is like a sexier version of StrengthsFinder?
So StrengthsFinder is one of the personality frameworks that you can use to understand people better. Crystal's really rooted in DISC, which is a pretty similar framework. And the main difference between a lot of, if you're just taking an assessment online, is that Crystal's actually predicting the personality type versus requiring an assessment from someone.
Okay, got it. And what inputs are you using to do the prediction?
So we actually train on traditional assessments. So people can take free assessments on our website. But the majority of our profiles come from using that and a combination of machine learning and natural language processing to analyze public data. So social media, emails, resumes, really anything that we can get that users provide that is, we can detect the writing style for.
Okay.
So that's how we generate the profile.
Just to be clear, though, I mean, your business is very different if this is a passive thing where the user doesn't have to do a thing versus the user has to upload, X, Y, and Z things. This is something where if I wanted a personality test on you before we just met and I started interviewing you, I could go to Crystal and it would tell me what you're like based off your public persona, right?
Yep.
Okay. And what's the risk there that it's not accurate? And I come on expecting an egomaniac and you're actually humble and shy.
So it's not perfect. We have about 83% accuracy confidence across our platform.
How do you measure that though? How do you measure how wrong you were that his ego is not actually 100 points big, it's only 60 points big?
So that's based on a sample size of a few thousand profiles per month.
Okay.
And what we do is we compare our personality result to the primary DISC type that person got in a personality assessment. So those are the people that take their personality assessments, like just a standard straight up questionnaire like people are used to taking. And 83% of the time, we can properly guess what the primary personality type is when they take that assessment. So Crystal will get that about 4 to 5 times accurately.
Okay. And how do you make money? What's the business model?
It's all free to use for inside your company. So people that want to understand their coworkers or their boss or new team members better. That's how we grow. So
okay, Drew, I love you, but now I hate you. I mean, because I love money. I mean, how do you make money?
So the people that use it for free, some of those are in recruiting, sales, and management roles. And those people can pay to access Crystal profiles outside the company.
To access Crystal outside the company. Okay, got it. Okay, this is a really interesting model. So you basically have extra leverage when you land an account to quickly expand to their full team because the pitch is it's free. And what you're thinking is once they're in your ecosystem, it increases your data set, which makes the whole system more accurate. And then they pay to go outside.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Now, what do you price that off? Is it like a price per one person they want to go outside, or do you sell it in batches, or is it a SaaS model? What is it?
There's 2 main revenue streams. One is a pretty standard SaaS model. And that's a $29 a month account to get unlimited access to our tools. So somebody who wants to install our Chrome extension can get access to Crystal profiles whenever they're looking at LinkedIn, using it in Gmail. It also works with Salesforce and HubSpot. So that's about 70% of our revenue.
Uh-huh.
And then the rest of it comes from API and just pure data partnerships. So companies that want to use personality data in their own software, or if they want to segment customer lists on psychographics, they can just get our data without the UI.
And they're purchasing a number of API calls per month or something like that?
Yep. It's a monthly subscription service for the data.
Interesting. Okay, give me more of the backstory. When did you launch?
Launched the product in March of 2015.
When did you start the company, though?
Well, so I started working on the project in September of 2014.
Okay.
And at the time, it was after my last company, and that was a whole big thing where my co-founder and I got fired by our investors. And during that period of time, I was just
wait. You can't just blank over that. What do you mean? So you're talking about Attend?
Yeah.
How much had you raised?
That we raised, I think, about $3.5 million at that point.
Okay, and was it the last round of investors that pushed you out, or was it like your first like angel who said you guys should leave?
We only raised 2 rounds from one venture capital firm.
Okay.
So yeah.
And how did that come? I mean, describe the phone call or the email or whatever it was. I mean, did you see this coming, or was it a shock and surprise?
It was a shock, but you could have seen the red flags. The whole thing, once it really caught up, it was about a week process. And I remember the last line of the phone call, which is the last time I've heard from them, was "the motion has passed," and then we hung the phone. So
why didn't? Yeah. So did you not have like legal up front? Like you guys didn't have full control of the company in terms of your voting rights on the board, or what?
We raised our first round when we were both 22. It was our first real experience with this, so we didn't really understand how our terms worked. It was just $1 million to start a company. And honestly, it wasn't like a bad relationship throughout. It was just we understood our market at a pretty deep level, and the investors they had a different vision for it, and they didn't want to be as patient with some specific niches we wanted to go after.
So did they crash and burn the thing after they kicked you out? That's obviously what we love to see, right? Is they die and you go, "I told you so."
The company got bought by another company, except I didn't get any check in the mail, so I really have no idea.
So was it you didn't have information rights to even know what the exit price was?
No, and then they recapitalized the company, so I'm pretty sure I didn't even really own anything of it. So I honestly have no idea.
That is crazy. Before when you raised that money, what did the cap table look like? You had 30%, your founder had 30%, and they had like 40%, or what?
So my co-founder and I started. He was the CEO, so we split it up. So he had slightly more than 50%, and I had slightly less. And then they came in. I believe by the end, after raising that money, I remember owning something about 20%.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your co-founder maybe had like 30-ish or something, and the other side had 50.
Yeah, something like that.
That's crazy. And what was revenue when they kicked you out?
I think we were about to hit $1 million ARR.
Okay, so that's a big deal for a 23, 24-year-old, right? I mean, did you at least create some wealth for yourself? Were you guys paying yourself a healthy salary?
We thought it was healthy at the time.
Well, how much were you paying yourself?
Actually, we ended up around, I think we started at 60, ended up at 90 for the couple months preceding the.
That's good. So hopefully you saved a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, and it was enough to have some runway while I started Crystal. And it was just, and Crystal was something that I couldn't not pursue. It was one of those things that was keeping me up at night.
Yep.
So I figured it out. I did some consulting, and during like the 9 or so months where I wasn't making anything from Crystal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you're a nice guy, because if that ever happened, I would sue the hell out of these people. I would go at them so hard so that no one ever messed with me ever again. But you seem like a nice guy with good energy, and you don't want to do that. It
just wasn't worth the time. We were offered a severance package in exchange for a release. But because if we signed that, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you at that level of specificity. So I prefer being able to speak and not filter myself.
Well, was it like a baloney set? It was like, here's $5,000 to never say anything.
No, it was more than that. It was about 10 times that, but yeah.
Okay. But you want to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes good sense. All right. Back to Crystal. So you launch you start fiddling around with it in kind of 2014. You go full speed. Now, have you raised? I imagine you haven't raised right after that horror story.
No, I actually didn't want to raise at all. I wanted to just bootstrap the whole thing. So started off, launched the product, had customers secured, revenue from day one. And I hired my first employee when we were bootstrapped. He was actually the best engineer from the last company. Now he's a head of technology. So it was revenue from day one, but then I realized that I was just getting offers for investment like in my inbox for a lot of people because it had gotten some publicity. And it was just an inherently interesting subject.
What did you put out publicly? Like, did you put out a public revenue figure, like growth figure or something?
No, it was just, it got picked up by the Huffington Post in one article, and then it spread and it went viral in like a 2-week period. Not like super viral, but it made the cover of Wired eventually.
Yeah.
That led to a lot. And I realized just as I was meeting these people who were just all like founders or operators themselves. They wanted to put money on the business because they really believed in it. It was just, I recognized that this was a very good group of people that were reaching out to me.
No, did you raise?
I did, yeah.
Boom. Okay, wait, how much did you raise?
I raised like a $500,000 seed round later in that summer.
Okay, and what have you raised total to date?
We have raised a total of $7 million.
So you were like, okay, we raised the first time around, it didn't work out so well, but I'm doing it differently this time.
Did do it differently, yes.
You just please tell me, if you have co-founders?
I don't have co-founders now.
Okay, but you can't lose control of the company, right?
No, yeah. So I had several deal breaker terms, especially going in the angel round was pretty easy because it was just safe. But going into the Series A,
yeah,
I knew what I wanted and wasn't going to move on those. And we are lucky to have, honestly, like I couldn't be happier with our investors.
That's great.
Salesforce is our lead investor, and obviously they're a huge, scary company, but they've been like fantastic. Especially, I mean, there's lots of ways that those kinds of strategic relationships can go sideways, but
who do you work with there?
They've been great. So, I mean, John Samorjai leads the group, so we have worked with him, but specifically more often it's Rob Keith and Matt Garrett.
Yep. Okay, good. So back to your story. So you, again, launched in 2014, did a small round, you raised $7 million to date. What have you scaled to in terms of customers?
We have about just coming up on 2,000 customers now.
Okay, got it. And I imagine that's your paid number. Do you also obviously have a freemium model? Mm-hmm. How many total people using it altogether?
The amount of total signups is just crossed 500,000. But as far as monthly active users, that's in the tens of thousands.
Okay. And that 2,000 number you gave me, is that each seat or that's just total logos? 2,000
accounts. Most of those are individuals, but if you were to add up the total number of seats, this is a rough estimate, but it's probably in the range of 4,000 to 5,000.
Okay. So, if I take just the logos, 2,000 times that $30 price point, that puts you around 60 grand a month. Is that generally what you're doing right now?
We're doing more than that because a lot of those are larger deal sizes.
Okay. I was going to say, so it might not actually be 2,000 seats. It might be closer to 3,000. Have you broke 100 grand in monthly revenue yet?
Coming up on it.
Okay, good. You think you'll break it this month or next month?
Within 3 months.
Okay. That's good. Now, what have you, in terms of growing the obviously SaaS company, churn is critical. Tell me about your churn.
We used to struggle with churn a lot.
How high was it?
The highest churn got to was consistently seeing 7-ish% net MRR churn per month.
Okay.
Now we pretty much focused exclusively on that for a year.
Yeah.
And released a new pricing model right at the beginning of this or end of last year. And we're actually able to cut churn. So far, the numbers are showing that those cohorts are churning at less than half the rate. And it's really taking over and taking hold on our revenue growth. So we're still seeing a lot of hangover churn from our old cohorts that are not as likely to stay because they signed up for different reasons.
Yep.
But we kind of really boiled it down, and it wasn't such a product problem. It was really a packaging problem. We were charging for the wrong things at the wrong amount to the wrong people.
What were you charging for?
We were charging for 20% of our personality profile, but you get unlimited profiles. And then you could unlock the whole thing. But what we realized was that 20% of the profile actually gave away most of the value, and people would upgrade and then downgrade just simply because they didn't need the rest of it. So what we did was ended up giving the whole profile, but just for a limited number of people. And that results in people that are actually using the product very frequently. They upgrade happily because they want to use the product more, and they stay. So people are upgrading for the right reason. And then we did consolidate the pricing, made some things simpler, some minor other improvements, but that was the core thing. We needed people to upgrade for the right reason.
And what do you, with these economics getting more healthy, what are you growing at, would you say, year over year? So what were you at, you're at, call it south of 100 grand right now in MRR. What were you at about 13 months ago?
We averaged 2007. We averaged just about 5% monthly MRR growth.
Okay. So what's help me on the math on that? What were you guys doing like 30, 40 grand a month 12 months ago?
Around there.
Around there?
40. Yeah.
Got it. So that's about 100. That's about 100% year over year growth.
Mm-hmm. A little less than that. I think we were 40 and change at the beginning of 2017. Yeah.
40 and change.
Yeah. So this year, our projection, my target is to average 10% month over month revenue growth. We're not there yet, and the reason that it's going to take a little while is because we've got a lot of that hangover churn. But I'm pretty confident that by the end of this year, we can hit that number monthly.
But when you split out and only look at the new cohort, are you seeing north of 10%?
Yeah, if I look at the new cohort, it's more like 20 to 30%.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So, yeah.
Last few economics questions before we wrap up with the famous 5. What are you paying to acquire new customers? What's your CAC?
We don't have any paid acquisition, and we also don't really do outbound sales at this point.
Okay.
So CAC is very low. And
how are people finding you? Is it just the natural, like people inviting their own teams?
Mm-hmm. It's the internal company-based model.
Yep.
So when one person gets it, we get, we'll see a random company blow up with like 50 people signing up at once. And then of those 50 people, the salespeople and recruiters, they either reach out or they just start using the tools and upgrade.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you assume lifetime, like assuming, your churn is obviously changing rapidly going down, but what do you assume lifetime value is on these accounts?
LTV, I can give you our average.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It is on self-service accounts, LTV is just under 600.
Okay. And I assume your average is probably higher than that on the larger accounts, right?
Yeah, that's a little hard to measure. I can't do that right now.
Okay. All right. What are you looking at? You use Barometrics or something?
I use ChartMogul.
ChartMogul. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. And okay, good. Last few questions here. So what's your team size today?
We are 12 people right now.
And where's home?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville. I love it. All right, good.
Yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee, 12 people. And then what do you assume, like how quickly do you like to get, I guess you don't really have CAC, so you don't have to look at payback periods, right?
Yeah, it's not really that important to us. However, we're with this latest round of funding that we raised, the plan is to build out the growth side of the company a little bit more. We're going to start to get our act together and have a real sales team.
When did you raise the last round of funding, and how much was it for?
Just a month and a half ago, we raised $5 million.
$5 million. Okay. And you probably obviously keep this close to the vest, but it would be valuable learning if you share it. Valuation wise, were you able to get like a 4, 5, 6x multiple on ARR, or how'd you negotiate that?
So ARR, we got a very good valuation. I can't disclose details on it, but it was a pretty significantly high multiple, mostly because it was a competitive process.
Yeah, you created a nice bidding war.
Yeah.
Okay, like can we say north of 10 million valuation? Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I was going to say, if you're raising 5, I know you're not selling 50% of your company, so it's got to be well north of 10, which is well north of a 10x multiple you're currently doing. So you definitely had some good social pressures happening inside of that bidding process.
Yeah.
Now here's a question for you. Do you ever worry about growing into that valuation?
Do I worry about it? Oh, well, yeah. It's kind of like the trajectory here that we've signed up for.
Yeah.
I'm very confident we will, because Crystal's an interesting business in that we have this like very big kind of sexy vision that we can project, where it's true. It's like kind of why I do this. I want everybody to have a handbook for how to work with everybody else. I think that is ultimately going to be good for like millions of people. That's the big far off vision, kind of what we're working towards. But in the process, because of the pressure we put on with the bootstrapping in the beginning, we've got this revenue model that works. It doesn't work great yet. Like we're not, it's not growing, 200-300% year over year, but we've got the core of it working. And with some optimization, we're going to grow into that valuation relatively quickly.
Just to be clear, like companies like you with your economics right now,
yeah.
there are corporate buyers that are selling and they're paying, call it an average of maybe 3 to 5x, even on the high end of these deals. You are well north of a 10x valuation. You have to again, the way I think about this, and I always wonder about, I think you're probably my age, right? You're like 29, 30?
27.
Yeah, 27. Yeah. So like if you were offered today, it sounds like you own most of the company, a $5 million offer for the company, you could take that as quick momentum, right? Use that cash to then double down on the same vision in a new company. What you've done now, though, since you've raised so much, you can't sell the company really for less than 10, 15 million for anyone, including yourself, to see a good return. So that's what I always wonder about, is how people that are young, especially, determine opportunity costs on these kinds of things.
It was a really fun learning year last year. Like I remember, like when I mentioned it was a competitive process, it was definitely I learned a lot about what the next 3 years of the company could look like and what acquisitions down the road could look like and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And ultimately what it came down for me was, I didn't feel done with it. And I think the overall mission of what we're trying to accomplish, like, it's very big, and I don't really want to be working on anything else for the next 3 years. So, I mean, we've had opportunities to sell the company, and it just makes so much more sense to me to be working on this because I don't see anything else that's more exciting to be working on at the moment.
It's a great reason, Drew. It's a good reason. Yeah. All right, let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, what's the last business book that you read?
Not a business book, but I'm in the process of reading How to Do Things with Words. It's more of a philosophy book that's aligned with my business.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
I read Jeff Bezos' annual letters religiously.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool?
I live in Chartmogul.
So to say literally, you're in it right now.
Yeah.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Hours of sleep?
Yep.
8.
And what's your situation? Married, single, you have kids?
Single.
Single, and no kids that you know of, right?
No kids.
And you said you're 27. Last question, what do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
What do I wish my 20-year-old self knew? I wish he knew how much money he needed and just more specifics around what he needed in his life, financially, health-wise, relationally. I think there was a lot of misconceptions I had about what would make me feel fulfilled, and I wasted a lot of time.
There you guys have it from Drew, understanding more clearly what it means to be fulfilled for him personally and what happiness looked like. He got kind of booted out of his first company, doing about $1 million a year in revenue from his investors, then started fooling around with Crystal in 2014, officially launched it, has now raised $7 million, serving well north of 2,000 logos, 3,000 to 4,000 seats, paying $30 a month. They're flirting with the $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue mark, up about, call it 80, 90% year over year. Churn was really bad at 7% net MRR churn per month. That's down to about 3.5 now as their new cohort is performing really, really well after some product changes. They've got a team in 12 in Nashville, again, building Crystal, really helping people try and understand each other's personality so that everyone can work better with everybody else. Drew, thank you for taking us to the top.
All right. Thanks, Nathan.